Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Bradenton City Council meeting, Wednesday, February 28th at 8:30 a.m. at City Hall Chambers. As we always do, we'll start with an invocation and a pledge. So if everyone please stand, and we'll ask Councilwoman Jane Coker to give us our pledge.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion and allow us to nurture the bonds of community. We seek blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve and respect for all. May our personal faiths give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters before us. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please join all veterans in the audience to pledge to us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's the one.
All right, I know we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, and I know there's one thing that we need to pull from the agenda before. Mr. Perry?
Mayor, we would be asking to withdraw the submission for approval of the police union agreement that deals with the pension obligations. As the council may know, it was changed by the state legislature last year, and it's the subject of mandatory bargaining. And so we need to do a little bit of spade work with our union first.
All right, so that is
Item 7B.
7B. All right, so we will pull that. All right, thank you. Moving forward, Madam Clerk.
We have a proclamation this morning, which I'll read on behalf of the mayor. Bradenton Castle Park 100th Anniversary Celebration Day. Whereas Bradenton Castle Park will be celebrating their 100th anniversary, and whereas Bradenton Castle Park was instrumental in the development of parks for seasonal visitors to Florida. It provided a tourism mechanism for people to make extended visits to our area. And whereas on March 7th, 1924, the Camping Tourists of America secured the 34-acre Bradenton Castle property and began to prepare the property as the permanent campground for tin can tourists. And whereas the park continues to be a refuge for seasonal tourists, as well as a home for a growing number of year-round residents. And whereas the ruins of the 1850 plantation home constructed by Joseph Braden, referred to as Bradenton Castle, is located near the north center of the district in a park-like setting available for public viewing. And whereas Bradenton Castle Park's man-made lagoon provides a supportive feeding area for wood storks, brown pelicans, roseate spoonbills, egrets, herons, and ibises, giving them a safe area to nest and feed without threat or harm. And whereas, in recognition of Bradenton Castle Park's many contributions to the history of Florida, the United States Department of the Interior National Park Service added the park to the National Register of Historic Places in 1983. And whereas Bradenton Castle Park continues to be an integral part of our community by helping to preserve the original character of the area and providing shelter for our citizens and our wildlife. Now therefore be resolved that I, Jean Brown, as mayor of the city of Bradenton, Florida, do hereby proclaim March 7th, 2024 as Bradenton Castle Park 100th Anniversary Day in Bradenton, and urge all citizens to congratulate them for being a part of our friendly city. Signed, Jean Brown, Mayor.
Thank you. You all want to come forward and anything you want to say, and then we'll get a picture. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. On behalf of the residents at Bradenton Castle Park, we just want to thank you very much for recognizing this big accomplishment for us, and we do believe an accomplishment for the city of Bradenton.
All right. Thank you. Do you have the proclamation? We'll get a picture. Okay, you've got it.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Yes,
could,
ma'am.
please.
Ms. Barnaby?
Being that I grew up here, was born here and grew up here, I have to tell you that in the early 60s, we would go to Braden Castle and play on the castle. So I'm not saying I'm the reason they put the fence up, but I do remember it fondly, and everyone there has always been so friendly, and you are a significant part of our friendly city.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we want to go around and get a picture? Yep.
If Bradenton council members could come up front, and if the council could come here, and take the picture, just to get the backdrop. And if you could hold the proclamation up in the middle, everybody can stand at around 45-degree angles, so we get a nice tight shot.
Oh, I didn't get the black memo. Everybody's wearing black.
You went to school here in 1950? Wow.
Okay. Next.
Lisa?
Right.
How far? A little bit.
Oh.
Thank you.
Enjoy
the day.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
We do not have any presentations scheduled today.
Okay, at this time, we'll have citizen comment, and citizen comment will be accepted during the citizen comment portion of the meeting on any non-agenda item, future agenda item, or topic of relevance to the city. Comments will be accepted on the public hearings at the appropriate time. So at this time, I have two cards. The first I have is Bill Sanders. Please come forward, state your name and your city of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes. Welcome.
Here's my residence. It's 2502 Riverside Drive. You can see the diesel pump in front of my house. It's been there almost all year. It was there quite a bit last year. It spilled 500 gallons of raw sewage in front of my home, just a few feet. You can see the grassy area there. And this spill occurred on February 6th, just a couple days after Rodney Jones' trial, after I testified. And in the report, Mayor, after I complained about this last meeting, you attacked me and said that if things really occurred, if things really happened, we would see pictures. Well, sir, here they are. And I don't know why I have to prove to you that you can't believe this when you know you can drive down that city and see it. And we cut the trees down right after Rodney's trial. Here's one of them, pretty healthy tree. There was two. These are royal palms. Those are one of the most expensive palms you can get. They weren't dead, Miss Moore, they weren't dead. And I can prove it if I have to, but it seems like I have to prove everything, but you guys have to prove nothing. And I'm getting pretty fed up with that type of attitude toward our citizens, that we have complaints, you don't listen to them, and you don't take care of it. You know, but you do take care of people that take care of you. You said the EDC, Mr. Perry, we didn't give him $300,000. No, we didn't give him $300,000. We gave him $100,000 1 year, for another contract the next year, and for another contract the next year. Well, of course they have to be approved. Any contract has to be approved. You know, if a contract is there 1 year and we approve it again for the next year and they don't perform, so what? We cancel it. That's the case with anything. But to say that it wasn't there and you give it to the guy that ran against me and Mrs. Moore for a job at EDC, and he's also on the planning commission? How do you explain that? It was on the consent agenda. This wasn't even discussed. It wasn't in last year's budget. In September 30th, the budget closes, Mr. Perry. You approved this a couple weeks, 3 weeks ago, or a month. $100,000 went to EDC, and he becomes the,
Thank you, sir. Next, we have on the list Mike Meehan. Please come forward. You have 3 minutes, and state your name and city of residence. Welcome, thank you.
Mike Meehan, Bradenton, Florida, Manatee County. It was kind of a chance encounter I had with the mayor at the Chamber of Commerce barbecue about 6 weeks ago, and I was about to hand him, or was trying to hand him, some information about pollution in North Palmasola Bay. He suggested rather that I, present it officially. So that's why I'm here this morning, is to present this information officially on pollution in North Palmasola Bay. I'll start with the bad news first. As you can see from the overhead, the results for February 19th of enterococci concentrations per 100 milliliters of water in North Palmasola Bay was 246. The danger zone is 71 or higher, so this is roughly 4 times the danger zone. There was an article in the Islander, maybe some of you saw it, dated January 24th, which showed this same report for earlier time periods. On January 8th, the concentration showed 364 cells. On December 26th, it showed 379 cells. And on December 18th, it showed 1,112 cells of bacteria. There was a little bit of a longer-term study done in 2022 and 2023 by Suncoast Waterkeepers, and it showed 63 samples collected during that time period, and the number of swimmable weeks was listed as 48. And it was assigned a grade of F in terms of the safety of the water. To quote the report, it said, Palmasola Causeway on the north end has more than 1 year of weekly samples recorded, with results showing that half of the year it is not recommended to swim in the water. When a water body is listed as poor, swimmers and others planning to come in contact with the water must be cautious to prevent infections and falling ill. It is recommended that you stay informed about the condition of your favorite water access point and keep safe when you're on the Sun Coast.
All right, thank you, Mr. Meehan. All right, I have no other comments. Any council comments? Anything? All right, thank you. We'll move on. Madam Clerk?
Next is the consent agenda. Staff is asking for approval of items A through F.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda items A through F.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, I heard Ms. Coker
And Mayor, I have had the opportunity to speak with all the counselors. We had a little bit with one of the counselors, like a little bit of a scheduling conflict come up, but I have been able to cover the consent agenda as you always do. And there's a couple of issues that came up, and we think we adequately addressed them, and so I would proffer it with approval from the city administrator.
Thank you. Hearing no further discussion, we'll start the vote in Ward 5.
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
and 4.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
The next item is item 7A, ordinance 4033, second reading and public hearing. An ordinance of the city of Bradenton, Florida, vacating a portion of a 16-foot east-west alley as shown on the plat of G.O. Gregory subdivision, recorded in Book 1, page 236 of the Public Records of Manatee County, Florida, and more particularly described herein, being generally located north of Manatee Avenue East and east of 22nd Street East, providing for recordation in the official records, providing for severability, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. And who do we have from the city this morning?
Good morning.
Good morning,
I'm not
Greg.
Gregory Subdivision, but I am Gregory DeLong. So here to do a quick presentation on this. No. Okay. Let's be short. And thank you, and good morning, City Council, and thank you to Mrs. Melton for reading the introduction. This is a ordinance 4033. It is to vacate a portion of an east-west alleyway that runs between 22nd Street East and 23rd Street East. The purpose of this vacation is to accommodate the new fire station number 2, so they can meet setbacks and landscaping requirements. Here's just a quick case information about the area with the parcel ID number, address, flood zone. Currently that alleyway is unimproved. It's got a lot of gravel, sand, and grass. This is just vacating a southern portion of the 16-foot alley, so it's one half of it. It's about 1,472 square feet in size. As I mentioned, the purpose is to accommodate fire station number 2 and its required setbacks. It is used as an east-west connector between 22nd Street and 23rd Street East. I mentioned the condition of the alleyway. There is one property on the alley that does have direct access onto the alley, and that is 312 23rd Street East. It does not appear that this vacation will affect that access to their garage. We did have a couple residents show up at Planning Commission that did mention had some questions about this vacation, but they are more accessing the north-south portion of the alleyway and not the east-west portion. We never did hear from them after Planning Commission. They were inquiring about maybe vacating their portion, but we never heard back from them.
One of the things that they talked about was they didn't know what was going there.
Yeah, they
So,
were unaware of fire station.
unaware of the fire station was going there. So that's
Yeah.
something probably as soon as we can, we want to get some sort of notification up, even driving by future home of. So that, I think, will help the neighborhood.
Yeah, and
in
everyone
some
within
ways.
300 feet was notified,
Right.
so they understand why. Here's a location map showing the portion of the alleyway to be vacated. It is in the teal color, the bluish color. I did circle where the house at 312 23rd Street East is, and you can see from the aerial there is an access to the garage coming from the area that's not going to be vacated. And here is a zoning map. The zoning is UCC. And here's the future land use map, which is also UCC. Here is the site survey map showing that it is just the southern portion of the alleyway. And here are some site conditions that, from photos I took. So basically the best way of looking at it is probably just go down the center line of this grassy area and go to the right or to the south, and that area will be the portion to be vacated. So this is looking east from 22nd Street East. Again, another photo kind of in that same general area. Here is about halfway down the alleyway. I was having a hard time trying to depict what was going. So, but the area to the west will be vacated. The area to the east will be vacated. The area to the north, or will not be vacated. The area to the north will not be vacated. Here is looking west from 23rd Street East. There you can see where the car for the garage for 312 23rd Street East is at. And as you can see, they definitely drive on that a lot more than the other end, based on the condition and there being really no grass remaining in that area. And here's just another photo of that home and their access to their garage. And here is the existing building that's on the property at 2229 Manatee Avenue East. As part of the vacation process, it does refer to section 2.2.7 of the land use regulations. There's some key points that need to be observed in that process. Is basically one of them is that the vacation will not be detrimental to public health, safety, welfare, or convenience, and that no public utilities will be affected. City staff, which did make the application for this, did receive letters from all utility companies saying they have no utilities in the area, and they did support the proposed alley vacation. So staff did recommend approval of ordinance 4033, or case number RV 24-0120 as submitted. And then on February 21st, Planning Commission did meet, that was a week ago today, and they did recommend approval with a vote of 6-0. So do you have any questions for me?
Okay, nope.
All right.
So the staff,
Thank
so
you very
we'll-
much.
We'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the ordinance 4033 as submitted today.
I'll second it.
Okay, Mrs. Moore, second. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
We do not have anything listed under unfinished business on the agenda.
All right, moving on to 8, the administration, finance. Who's going to take that, Mr. Perry?
Mayor, before council, under item 8A, is a request for budget adjustment approval, BA 2407. It is a kind of an omnibus type of budget adjustment request. And I want to explain a little bit about, a lot of times in budget adjustment requests, we'll see increases and decreases. And that was one of the questions that came up when I met with the council. This basically is taking funding out of the utility water reserves funds that we have and paying for some current needs that we have that I'll explain in just a minute. But you'll see there's no decrease because we are not taking it out of an already approved budget item, basically. We're taking it out of the reserve account, which will be done through the accounting process. And then we are putting it into, I believe, 4 different budget funds. And that's the technical kind of background on what's before council. The substantive background on what's before council, and Ms. Clayback is here from Public Works Engineering to address it, is a variety of different items. And there was attached to the memo, I believe, an email that kind of spells out a little bit of the background on those items. One of the major items, basically, is for some projects we're doing, and I think it's 2 of them are at the water reclamation facility. One of the projects involves improvements to the water treatment capacity we have that comes in, and there's a series of aged problems over there that deal with filtration and some obligations we have under DEP permits and water keepers lawsuits and things like that. Nitrogen levels are slightly, they're high over there, and we're trying to examine exactly why. And there's a series of different components of the water treatment that needs to be addressed. There are things called weir gates, there's filters, there's sludge at the bottom that has to be removed and the like. And it's a fairly significant undertaking to do those methanol feed system, the filter system itself, and what's called an oxidation ditch weir gate that I spoke about. And that's for a total of $480,000. There's also, under the budget adjustment request, $700,000 for emergency sanitary sewer improvements. That's a series of sanitary sewers that were aged related to clay pipes and other problems. One of them involved fairly sizable gravity line out on 59th Street where there was a failure. I've spoken with a few of you in advisement of that. And so it's a series of both water treatment collection improvements that have to be made. That's what the reserve fund is for, among other things. And we need to kind of get on it pretty quick because of our obligations and the environmental challenges and service issues related to it.
I know, Mr. Perry, we're talking specific here, but maybe at some point, even today, if you could give us a little bit of an update on some other issues we're having around the city that are kind of from a deferred maintenance standpoint, that we're working not only legislatively trying to get some funding, while other ways we're doing things, because I know sometimes people think that we just sit here and we don't care if there's a pump somewhere.
Right.
But we do care, and we are trying to figure those out, but 100-year-old pumps, you know, we didn't create the problem, we're just having to deal with the problem now. So I think that's something that I think the citizens would like to hear, maybe not as much today, but as we go forward,
Sure.
we'll have some things.
Well, overall, you're absolutely right. And I think, you know, I give credit to Public Works and Ms. Clayback and the technical team over there, because they're not burying their head in the sand. And we had been planning on, you know, we recognized for a while that there's aged infrastructure, clay pipes that are well over 50 years old, different types of collection systems and lift stations that are aged. And we use a variety of funding sources in an attempt to strategically address that. Some of it is putting out fires as they come up. Some of it is proactively fixing what we know is defective and aged. And so it's a fairly broad strategic approach that we will continue. And when I say continue, we can't fix in 20 weeks what took probably 50-plus years, and in some cases 100, to repair. And it's not a novel problem to the city of Bradenton. But if you go up to the villages, they probably don't have this problem, because all their infrastructure is new. And other places in town, ours has clay pipe, ours has all kinds of different age technology. Some of the adjustments on our water treatment, you have to go out in the rain and adjust flows and feeds that relate to reaching certain chemical levels in the water. That's not an ideal situation, and technology in and of itself could be used in electronic components and switchgear and things like that. So Kim, you know, I mean, she wears a lot of hats, as many of you know, and she's got a lot of responsibility, an awful lot of responsibility in a lot of different technical areas of expertise. And we are trying to deal with the bandwidth for that technical expertise, to have personnel that can handle it, to try to find funding that can handle it, and then try to find construction availability and best methods and processes to do, whether we do it or contractors and the like. And we put that into priorities. Of course, you know, we go to our state legislature as well as other funding sources, and we've done quite well. I mean, I think we're on order of about $12 million in the last couple of years. But, you know, lift stations, we've received millions of dollars for lift station improvements, sanitary sewer relining. We've dealt with SRF as it relates to debt issuance, of fairly cheap money to replace it. And the good news is, if you take off the work boots and you put your accountants and finance tie on, so to speak, we're well postured. We have funds to do a lot of this. It's a very monumental, significant financial undertaking, but we do have resources available to continue to do this. But you might have all the money in the world if you don't have the technical expertise and the bandwidth to do it. If you don't have contractors that, you know, you have processes and procedures to utilize effectively, efficiently, and economically. There's a lot that goes into it. But I can tell you that I think everybody in the administration, at Public Works, and here in leadership realizes that we need to embark on this to continue to improve our economical, reliable, and resilient infrastructure of water source, being potable, and sanitary sewer, and stormwater, and it's all heavily regulated.
And I think one of the important things for our citizens to know is, we saw today where we're having a 100-year celebration of a neighborhood. And it's a great thing to celebrate, you know, when Braden Castle started, kind of came into it, really brought in kind of that lead to a city that can do great things. But, you know, if you go in other neighborhoods that are a little bit newer, they may not be having the same problems as that neighborhood because of the age. So I just think, you know, one of the things that was important to all of us up here is how we structurally and strategically do that. And if you don't start working on a plan, it's never going to happen. And, you know, again, some of the deferred maintenance that was the past, we didn't control, but we now are trying to go forward. And I think one of the biggest things that's showing now is the lobbyist that we're taking care of, that some criticized, now has come back, gosh, 20-fold from what we've spent. And, you know, again, we're asking for more, we're getting more. We're hoping that legislatively this season we'll get what's in there, but you know how that goes. Sometimes it's the legislative process, and you don't get everything you want, but you're gonna get as much and then continue that process. And then, obviously, if you've done any construction, you know you can't say, okay, we got the money, start tomorrow. It takes some time, and that's what we're dealing with now in some of these issues.
Godspeed to Mr. Braden, and out at Ayers Point, I imagine that he never contemplated some of these issues, you know, well over 100 years ago that we have. And some of the oldest infrastructure we have is out there by Ayers Point.
Ms. Coker?
Yeah, I didn't have my card, but I did. Shake my pen. I had a little question. You mentioned about high nutrient loads. Were you talking about at the water treatment plant or somewhere else?
At the water treatment plant.
Okay, because I just because of other stuff. And I just wanted to kind of make a comment, that's kind of contrary to what some people are putting out there. I know since I started on council and just coming out of COVID and you beginning, that the replacement and the addressing the deferred maintenance has been priority one almost for all of the leaders up here. And I know it's not, it took 100 years to get us to here. It's going to take us a little while to get it all repaired. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there to kind of.
It's a good point. You know, it's funny if you look at the debt service of this city too. I mean, it has been challenged for literally 100 years, and there were some big chunks of issuance, even back to the 1940s, to address a lot of this. It's always a challenge in any local government. And we put a lot of money into that. We have a lot of bonds and other SRF type funding for water treatment, but you're always trying to, you know, catch up and keep up. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, we need that magic checkbook that they've been talking about in these visioning.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Barnaby?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is interesting when we talk about this because I have a letter that my grandfather wrote to the citizens of Bradenton when he was running for city council in the 1940s. And they talked about how difficult it was to be able to get tires for the 2 police cars and that sort of thing, that everything was rationed. And here we come out of the pandemic, and I had a situation in my ward where we did have one of those pumps there for like 5 months because we could not get the part that was necessary to fix the lift station. So it seems like the more things change, the more they stay the same. I also know that when we did some work, the very first time we did some work on Old Main Street, and we dug up the street, we found wooden water pipes. That's how old the infrastructure was there. And I know in my neighborhood, we have cast iron pipes. So there's times that our water looks like a little funny color, and we have to take care of that. But how are we doing? Have we kind of gotten to the point where now if we need a part, we can get it, rather than are we backlogged still with some of these items?
You know, in today's digital world, whether you're building cars or building water processing facilities, what's called digital switchgear is all backlogged, and that's part of a residual problem that deal with microprocessors and chips and things like that. And it's an international shortage. When we build some of our major construction projects that have complex switchgear, we pre-advance buy that switchgear. And it's really important to try to get it because the back order on that is anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half. But so are fire trucks. You know, we have one we're waiting on right now, a platform that had a 3-year build on it. And, you know, I'm not an expert in any way on economics as it relates to availability of supply, but those are well beyond our ability to influence or affect. You know, we're market buyers and consumers.
Councilman Moore?
I just wanted to highlight that we know what we need. We know that we need to reorganize our Public Works Department, and we know that we need to do some strategic planning after we have done that. So that's not new, and that's not news, but What we are doing encourages me. Staff, administration has been very communicative and focusing a lot of time and attention on both of those things, making them happen. I think that the lobbyist has done a great job of acquiring state funds, and I'm excited to see them being applied for those specific needs. And I was going to wait until my public comment to introduce Alana Todd, who is an environmental planner with the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. She is our liaison with that organization, and I want to encourage administration. I'm going to introduce her to specific staff after the meeting, but I want to encourage staff and administration to utilize her because that's a part of the benefit of being a member of that organization. And she's working on coalitions to obtain federal funding, of which right now there is much for this exact issue. And so I just want to make sure that we're clear. We're aware that there's funds outside of this reserve. We're using this reserve because we have to, and the problem needs to be solved. We cannot let that particular situation go unchecked at this time, but that there are more available funds on a state and federal level, and we are actively pursuing them.
So can that be a motion to approve
Yes.
budget adjustment by Mrs. Moore?
And Mayor, just before we get to the formality of that, I'd be remiss if I didn't kind of highlight the folks that are literally digging and pumping and doing all the work in the trenches. When I go out there, there's folks, Nate Bailey and his crew, in the various divisions of Public Works that you guys all don't see, and they're out there after hours in boots. They're in very dirty conditions, handling heavy equipment in difficult environments, and it's somewhat inspiring for me to go out there as I did on 59th Street and see Letitia and her teams out there, and Kim had just left, and the equipment's coming in, and when there's a problem, they address it, and I think we all should be very proud and appreciative of the great work that they do out there in the field.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Perry. So we have a motion by Mrs. Moore for budget adjustment BA 24-07 and a second by Mrs. Coker. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1.
Yes.
Approved 5-0. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
There is nothing on the agenda under unfinished business, so council reports would be next.
All right, we'll start Council Ward 5.
I had a feeling. Well, it seems like the topic of today is speaking of things that are old in the city of Bradenton. And just last evening, we attended the Vision meeting at 13th Ave, looking at that map of the city of Bradenton and seeing where that old area is. Mrs. Moore and I probably get the most calls about things that have eroded or things that were done in a certain way in the past, and wow, how do we untwist or how we somehow smooth this out? 30 years, 40 years later, it's hard, and at some point, almost impossible. But government moves slowly, but one thing the citizens can be reassured of is that this council up here and the hundreds of employees of the city are working as hard as we possibly can to rectify these old problems, and some are new, but we're really, really working hard. And that brings to what I was going to talk about during my council comments. There's some great things happening in Ward 5. I've had some people text me and call me and say they were happy that the potholes, the little potholes that would be created all over the city because of rain, they were happy that they have been filled. I was happy too. There was one right near my house and I'd hit it all the time. And then I even had some that were excited about recently smoothing out 9th Street. You know, I've even got comments about that, but they do say the manholes are improperly placed.
Well, that's being worked on as part of the project.
Yeah,
That was on my list too.
Yeah, and they are absolutely right. But again, we're not ignorant of it, we're cognizant of it, and it's going to be rectified as soon as possible. Some of the other things that in my old part of the city, we have some parks, 2 parks that the equipment is old, it definitely needs some work, and unfortunately, because of the times, there are homeless people that decide that the park is a perfect place to be. And I've had some calls, and even BPD has had to field some calls as well. But it will be done. It will be done. And it's not easy for people who live around the park and they smell the urine and they smell the smells, or they sometimes get into arguments with the inhabitants. We are working at it. We are definitely working at it. Some of the other issues that I have been, has been brought back to my attention is some of the land, the plots of land and how they were cut up and divvied up back in the day. And here now, there are problems that citizens are facing, and they're problems that legally, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. But just letting the public know that we are working on that, and after the meeting, I hope that I can meet with, and I'm sure I can meet with Mr. Perry and our attorney and the mayor, and help figure out how we can, what should I say, review again a situation and see what hint of something we could possibly do, but we'll meet about that afterwards. I don't want to just end on the negative. Ward 5 is definitely alive. The city of Bradenton is growing, and with all the problems that brings, we're doing our best to make it better and make the friendly city, truly the friendly city, all 14 square miles of it.
Thank you. And just one comment to the paving on 9th. If you notice, and the residents notice, it went all the way pretty much close to the old mall, and there's some areas that were fixed. And that was, I want to thank our staff for working with the county, because we only go up to a certain area. And one of the things that always frustrated me driving around town is you see a beautiful paved road, and all of a sudden it just stops, and the rest of the road is still what it was. And we did a great job working with the county in collaboration to get the whole road to where it's smooth all the way around. We know of the manholes, and it's probably the most manholes I've ever seen in a short stretch. That, you know, normally you have one and then another one, but there's like 7 or 8 within 10 feet of each other, it seems like. It's a little facetious, but that is something that is being addressed, and was addressed on Friday as soon as they got done. And, you know, so it wasn't something that was missed. It was just, it's a process. And unfortunately, do you want it open or do you want it closed? And we need it open for our traffic. So thank you, Mrs. Coachman. Mrs. Coker?
Yes, thank you. This is really, I know the most wonderful time of the year is Christmas, but this is a wonderful time of the year. Having spring training here is always exciting. The weather's great. The people that come in, the fans are wonderful, and I just want to give a shout out to the Pirates and thank them for all they do for the city of Bradenton. They're a great partner for us, and I've been enjoying, I did enjoy a game the other day, so go Bucks. Also wanted to we've had a few opportunities, several of the homeowners associations are having their annual meetings, and thank the mayor for coming. And we've gone and met with the residents. I mean, it's all about hearing directly from them. So I'd like to give a shout out to the Point West neighborhood. We just attended theirs. And also we went to 3 or 4 Village Green, different sections have different meetings. So I want to thank them for the opportunity. And I'm really looking forward to the results from our visioning meetings. We've had 2 already. I would encourage anybody that hasn't attended to please try to attend one of the meetings, or at the very least, go and take the survey. We have to hear from you. It's really been great hearing directly from them, and I feel like this gives us a great opportunity to kind of counteract some of the misinformation and misdirection that gets put out there in various ways. I last Friday attended the Sarasota Bay Estuary Board meeting on y'all's behalf. And I wanted to it kind of falls in, that's why I didn't comment during the public section, but there was a report given that talked about, first off, Palmasola Bay and Upper Sarasota Bay were not considered impaired for nutrients in 2023. Now, not only is that considered not impaired, but all of Sarasota Bay is no longer impaired. They feel that the steps that we've been taking, they're seeing increased seagrasses, it's all about not having the red tide. The red tide was the big problem. They didn't have the results from Piney Point that they thought they would, but obviously all the steps that we as cities, and it's not just us, it's the city of Sarasota, it's the county, all of that. It's all the work that we're doing with advanced water treatment plants, our stormwater management, all of that is having an effect, and we're going in the right direction. So I realize that we have other things that are being told to us, but the EPA is telling us that it's not impaired for nutrients. So I just wanted to, I can send the entire report to you so you can review it, but I just wanted to pass it along from our meeting. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Vice Mayor Barnaby?
Well, continuing on that, Ms. Coker, do you think it'd be possible that we could get maybe Dr. Tomasco here on a quarterly basis to let us know how things are going? So
Yes.
that we can get this, yeah, again, different people may do different tests and come up with different criteria, but if the EPA and the Sarasota Estuary Program are pleased with what's happening, I think that information needs to come out. And if he would consider coming up on a quarterly basis to share with us, I would appreciate that. I don't mean to speak for the rest of the council, but.
I think he would. I mean, timing would be great to ask.
Okay. Well,
So, anyhow, yeah.
That was one of the things that I had. Also, let me run through a bunch of things here. I enjoyed meeting at the 13th Avenue Community Center, Dream Center last night with the residents that were there. And then the next visioning meeting will happen at Trinity United Methodist Church, 3200 Manatee Avenue West at 6 p.m. So on Thursday. So we would love to have people there. And I've just got a long list. Hang on just a moment.
I
Let me
forgot
get
something too.
Well, go ahead, because this way I can.
Okay, good, okay. Sorry.
I didn't
I
mean-
also wanted to mention the Family Festival that Kiwanis is gonna be doing. It's gonna be over there at the Performing Arts Center in the parking lot out front. And it's gonna be, family fun activities all day. They're gonna have raffle prizes. They're gonna be raffling off bicycles, free medical, dental, and eye exams for children, good food all day. So, it'll be a nice family fun event that it's actually the Kiwanis Club of Manatee River, which is a new kind of, we're sponsoring the new club. But the Bradenton Kiwanis will be involved as well, so I would encourage.
When is it?
It's, March the 9th from 10 to 2.
Thank you.
Busy time.
Yes, this is a busy time of the year. Also, on Thursday evening, there's going to be we'll be having an additional retirement party for Adele Arosa. She is actually retiring again. For those of you that know her, know that she was one of the driving forces with Turning Points, and then she became the director of the Bishop Foundation. So that will be happening at 5 o'clock at the Manatee Community Foundation. And if you would like to send her a card, you can send it to the Community Foundation. We appreciate all of her hard work. Take Stock in Children is having an event Friday night. It is a murder mystery, and it is 1920s costume murder mystery. So if you're interested, get with Take Stock in Children. Also on, and Mr. Mayor, you may be talking about this, the MPO is doing an event at Motorworks on March the 2nd from 1 until 3. You may have more information about that, but I just wanted to make sure that we get that information out. Lewis Park, we're going to do the grand opening of our playground that is designated and set up for all children, whatever their particular needs may be. And that will be happening on March the 4th, Noah's Ark Day. Get it? Noah told the animals to, oh, come on, work with me, people.
March 4th.
March 4th. And I'm going to say, some of y'all need to read your Bible.
Let's not
That's at 1 o'clock in the afternoon at Lewis Park, and the Manatee Garden Club is going to be opening their facility for us so that we can have some refreshments and show off the garden club facility that is there. I think that is everything except for I do want to extend my deepest sympathies to the family of Steve Cox with Cox Chevrolet. He was a gentleman that was here in town, quite a leader, did a lot for our community, and their family has been here for years and has done a lot for our community. So I just wanted to express my deepest sympathies and condolences to the family of Steve Cox.
Thank you. Councilman Kramer?
Thank you, sir. I will scratch off the speakeasy of events to talk about. As everyone's saying, there's a lot to do this time of year, from the Pirates to other going to the beach, spring breaks coming up. But there's also opportunities to help organizations. For example, Saturday, March 2nd, at the Bradenton Women's Club from 10 a.m. to 1, the Wine, Women, and Wardrobes event is happening. It's an annual fundraiser for them. And Saturday, March 2nd in the evening, if you're not busy, Rock the Mac at St. Stephen's. It'll be a tribute concert by the tribute bands Amanda for Boston. I know that's near and dear to Mr. Perry's heart. And Brigade, who's a tribute band for Heart. It's a family-friendly event. Tickets are available at rockthemac.com. But family-friendly, no smoking, no alcohol, sort of festival-type seating out on the field. All are welcome. That's it.
Thank you. Councilman Moore?
I'm going to circle back to Councilwoman Coachman's note about history seeming to be a theme, starting with Braden Castle's celebration. And the thing about history for me is that I always strive to learn more about it and to share it with others. Some of it, I think we can all agree, is to be celebrated, and sometimes history is to be learned from. So I think that is, I like it when we see that we're, celebrating some parts and learning from other parts and keeping it foremost in our minds. I'm trying to make my comments kind of relate to each other. The visioning meetings to date have been wonderful. I've really enjoyed the conversation. And I think it speaks to the willingness of residents to become involved in their city and in the management of it. And I think that is admirable. I think it's admirable when someone takes the time to show up at meetings and express themselves and participate. And I think that extends all the way to even running for city council. I think it shows dedication to contributing to your society in the best way that you possibly can. On that note, related to Braden Castle, one of the residents of Braden Castle, I just want to extend my appreciation, he knows who he is, for taking the initiative to help clean up and move the garbage, working with Public Works to move the garbage at a homelessness camp adjacent to Braden Castle. It was extensive, and it was quite a bit of material that had to be bagged and put on the street. And so I commend him, but I also commend Brian Cho and his team, because they worked very hard, and they worked very, this gentleman, Braden Castle resident, expressed to me how appreciative he was of the staff. I think about 75% has been collected already, and I understand that the remainder of it is going to be collected now that it's in an appropriate spot for staff to be able to pick it up. So that, to me, is just an example of residents taking initiative and working with staff and working with us to make positive improvements to our community. Looping back to the visioning, I think that, and I'll just end with this, one of the things I found notable yesterday was, and I think it was actually in both meetings, that when folks are asked, what do you like best about the city, it's not a tangible thing that I think that we're hearing over and over again. It's more of an identity. It's more of an ownership of our place. And I think that that's the important thing to focus on. You know, we are Bradenton, and I'm excited to continue to encourage people to be engaged in the process and just generally with the management of their city. And I'm looking forward to the next meeting. I cannot make the Thursday one, but I'll be there on Friday.
And the Friday one is?
At the Manatee Performing Arts Center at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, and I think one of the things that's good to hear, because if they're already engaged in the visioning, or they do a little bit more in the city, that you look at, that so they kind of know things a little bit. And it, everyone has a right to be here anytime they want. They have a right to call us anytime they want. And as we know, when you look at overall, most times citizens don't get involved until it directly relates to them somehow, whether it's their business, whether it's their house, whether something's changing around them, or whether something's broke. So this gives an opportunity, and what's been exciting about those so far is that people have actually said, we need to know more. We want to know more. Unfortunately, with the way that the newspapers in this world have gone, if we had 100,000 newspapers going out every day and they were putting stuff on it, people would know. Social media hits more people, but it doesn't hit them in the way that a top fold of a newspaper would hit them that's sitting anywhere you walk. So I think if people would get the information that we're doing, and, oh, you're already doing that? Oh, you're already doing that? Yeah, we're doing some of that, but now we're trying to get it out there. So I think it's a great thing to continue that process. And then we're going to come up with a plan, and we're going to move forward. And everybody, what might not like exactly, but they're going to know that we've put it out there. So obviously talked about the Pirates, and the thing is, I just want to remind everybody that check your calendars. When there's a Pirates game, if you're going home at 4 o'clock, be patient, especially downtown, because with all the construction going on with different things, it does delay things a little bit. But we're working on don't block the box, don't turn from the center lane. The biggest complaint I've got lately is people coming down the center lane of 6th Avenue and then turning on to 9th so they don't have to wait in the lane. So, that's being addressed. And unfortunately, if you do it, there's a consequence, because that's breaking the law. Obviously the regatta, we talked a little bit about, but the regatta was a great success with all the events going everywhere in Manatee, Sarasota, Hillsborough County. There was events galore that weekend. But I just want to thank again our public works, our sanitation, police, fire, every person in Manatee County, because that takes a huge effort to do that all year long. And it's such a great staple for the community. And I think, and next year it's already been moved back to the week before because of what changed it this year was the Super Bowl was a week later. So, we talked with the Seafood Fest. Their numbers were down. They had to cancel on Sunday because of the weather. So that's kind of unrelated to things. I think it would have been a huge day for them on Sunday because I think a lot of the people that went to the regatta would have went. but talking with Karen Bell and that, so it'll be the normal weekend for us next year. So hopefully we're about the only thing. There was even nighttime events we had to miss that we would have been at, that people just didn't realize. So that was obviously great. I'd like to ask Ross to come up if he can. He's thinking, oh crap, what's going on here? So that was,
What's that?
Drum.
Oh, okay.
one of the things that I know Ross has a lot to do with it at the beginning of it and over the years, and they're not here today, but the Riverwalkers. Obviously, they've done so much for us, and we got a great report last night in the emails that came out. Two gentlemen, and they just have started doing it over 12 years ago, I think it was, and, they're in their 80s now, and one goes away for the summer, one's here, and when they get back, I think we want to do a little bit more for them. But one of the things that he did say in his kind of year end before Sam goes to North Carolina is that he's seen the difference. And, it's not only from their part, from others' parts, from our staff's part, from this council and my office, being a little bit more hard on you. And I want to say it's not hard on you in a bad way. It's a way that we have an image in our city, and a lot of us don't see things, but, behind the scenes what's happening, but we know it's happening. And I just wanted to thank you, and I mean, even with the homeless and, the police department, everybody's working as a team, keeping it up. And I just wanted to thank you, and I know there's a lot of things that you bounce around on, and we have to adjust every day, but, just through the whole crew, and you're kind of the one here, and obviously we know what Brian Cho does every day, trying to keep things going and through that department. But
it's a cooperative effort, and it's job security. I always tell my guys, it'll be there tomorrow. We'll never run out of work. So
we appreciate it, and I just wanted to bring you up and thank you so you can pass on to them.
I will, absolutely.
And I think that's one of the reasons, we went to the celebration of the 5, 10, 15. This year was a 5 and up. Next year will be the normal criteria. Anybody over probably, 35 is going to get it every year, because if you're here more than 35 years, you should get a rah-rah every year.
I haven't
so.
been here for 35, but I don't think I'm going to make 35, but it feels like 35. So thank you very much.
I wanted to thank you on that, and then I do have, so take off that hat and put on your arborist hat, because there's been a couple of areas that we have cut some trees down along Riverview Boulevard and Riverside Drive East.
Right.
And I just want you to kind of explain why those trees have been cut down, and because when you look at them, they do look healthy, or they do look at points. And I know there's something that we're a tree city, and we could probably go back and plant some trees, but it might not be as prudent to do that for a couple of reasons. Not only the landscape of what's there, as well as some residents don't like to lose their view, even though the trees aren't that blocking, but it would have to be a collaborative effort if we did that.
Right, right. So we've had some palm removal. I think part of the issue was we were in a severe drought. Southwest Florida was in a severe drought last summer. Is that better? Okay. So there was stressors in the landscape, throughout the landscape. So that, that's an outlying cause, or it could be a factor in losing trees. There's any number of fungal diseases and viruses that affect palms, so they're always floating around, and then when the trees are stressed, they're just that much more susceptible to those diseases and those viruses.
And the goal is to make sure that we don't have a tree fall at the wrong time.
Exactly. And palms are actually closely related to grasses. So once you lose that main spear or that center bud, it's gone. It may be a little bit green, but as it's declining, it's basically on its way out. So in regards to replacement, typically we rent a stump grinder next month, March, and actually a couple days. We call in utility locates. We go out, we grind all the stumps of the trees that we removed during the course of the year. And then we do have tree fund money that we can use to go in and replant.
Right.
So, and we've done that.
And again, when you're doing that, there is no collaboration between one thing or the other. It's just what's happening with the tree at that moment.
Right.
And, yeah,
And if it's a hazard,
Yeah.
we take it out.
Prioritize it, right.
So,
It's a hazard.
speaking of hazard, Lewis Park, we have two large dead slash pine trees on the western side of the park that I noticed Monday while I was inspecting the park for the grand opening. So I've got a contractor that's going to come in and take those out because they're definitely a hazard. So
But it's just two.
two for now. And, you know, some of the construction activities that take place on these sites can disturb the trees as well. Pine trees are very sensitive to that.
And there's been a
so-
lot of construction activity, not just at the park, but in the, particularly to the north of
Right.
Lewis Park.
Exactly,
There's,
exactly.
The Fogarty home was saved and has been reconstructed, refurbished, lifted up, so it's hopefully will not be affected if there's a flooding issue. And then there is a new home going in, right, that
Right.
area too. And that can have an effect on the
It
trees.
can, you know, hopefully there's enough distance between the park and those activities. But even the sidewalk activity that took place in Lewis Park could have had an effect. I'm working with a contractor, actually, we're scheduling Royal Palm injections for Riverwalk. They inject a fungicide and an insecticide, and I do that on an annual basis, so that's kind of a preventative, because the hurricanes, the droughts, all those things are stressors for those trees, so.
All right, I
Okay,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Please pass along, thank you to everyone.
I will, thank you.
All right, well, that's all I have. Mr. Perry, anything further?
No, sir, just, I wanted to comment a little bit on Dr. Tomasco and the report. I actually have the report, and I'd also like to commend Councilwoman Coker for serving on the estuary board. She's very active on it, and she engages me at a high level when I'm not trying to do infrastructure, vertical construction, personnel matters, finance, or anything else. We talk about important things like this, but if you have a chance to review that report, it really shows some excellent data on the revitalization of the Palmasola Bay in particular. And you can look at a lot of the curves as it relates to the nutrient loads and the designations and the improvements that are made there. I mean, it's probably one of the most improved bays in the entire estuary when you look at it and everything. And so and to Councilwoman Barnaby's question, I think it'd be a good idea to get Dr. Tomaso to come in and give more regular updates. It's a good news story that's being told, and it's not good news just because we're not doing anything. It's good news because a lot is being done, and there's a lot more to be done that we're going to continue to do. We are looking at probably increasing our participation with the Sarasota estuary in the future as well, and that would be a budget item for the next budget cycle. And it's fairly minimal when compared to some of the other participants of the county, Sarasota County, City of Sarasota, Swift Mud, and everybody else. But I'll be briefing you on that, and I think you'll probably be hearing a little bit more about the good news as we move forward. So some people come in and they provide certain data and say one story, and other folks that we rely on and have to rely on as authorities on the subject, I like their reports. They're very empirical. Yep. That's it.
All right, Ms. Moore, did you want to ask her to come up just so we could say hi to her?
Sure,
Yeah, that's
that'd
great.
be great. Do you mind?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Alana Todd. I am the Principal Environmental Planner at the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. You all, Bradenton is a member, and we just began a new government liaison program, so I am your liaison, as well as Pinellas and the city of Dunedin. And so, we're here as a service to you. We provide technical assistance and convene all of our local governments, for those big regional issues like the environment and economic development, resiliency. And so I'm looking forward to attending more of your meetings. And if there's anything that you think I should be present at, feel free to reach out to me. And I just want to commend Councilwoman Moore and her service on our council. And I look forward to getting to know all of you and being of service to your city.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
May I, would it be appropriate for you to, as by way of example, the one that you're just working on now, that is the coalition, the really big one?
Oh, the grant?
Yes.
We were just applying to?
Yes. Just as an example of some of the things that they're doing when I say coalition and getting regional municipalities together to work on grant and funding.
Yeah, so actually just last week, we put in a big grant application to NOAA for their regional coastal resilience challenge. We asked for $2 million to develop a coastal master plan over 4 years, and so Louisiana has a coastal master plan for their entire state, and that we've used that as a model for something we want to develop here. So essentially, over the 4 years, it would take a lot of stakeholder engagement, and we would be doing some comprehensive flood modeling for the entire region, and so that would be for the first time ever, really comprehensive, seeing how the different flood drivers interact, like sea level rise and rainfall and surge, and so through that, identifying where those flood risk areas are, and then we'd be trying to identify potential flood mitigation projects. And so those would be structural and non-structural, and then also using nature-based concepts, ideally. And so that would be something we replicate every 5 or 6 years. And so we put in that grant application, and it'd be an entire regional sort of plan, and we're looking at other funding sources to support that. So hopefully we get that started, and our Resilience Coalition actually voted last week to have us continue working on that and finding other funding sources. So it's going to happen regardless, and Bradenton would absolutely be included in that.
So do you work with the estuaries, the Tampa Bay and the Sarasota? Because obviously that falls right into everything they're doing and the collaboration, and how some of the outcomes because of all of that. So has that been a process yet?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we are members of the Tampa Bay Estuary Program, their board, and we also, one of our committees that we have is our Agency on Bay Management, and so it was the first management entity for Tampa Bay, and actually in a few weeks we're going to be voting to expand the boundaries of our Agency on Bay Management to include our entire region, so that would go down to include Manatee County as well, and so hopefully we could get someone from Bradenton to serve on that as well. But yes, we work very closely with both the Tampa Bay Estuary Program and the Sarasota Bay Estuary Program, especially during that red tide event.
Because we're kind of stuck in between. We got both. So.
Yeah.
Yes, we get both.
So, all right. Well, thank you. Nice meeting you, and
Yeah.
Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Any other department heads? Ms. Singer?
Takes me a minute. Thank you all for attending the visioning events and for promoting those, and I really appreciate your support in that. We're looking for input from people of all ages and all areas of the city to come and give some input, and as you said, there's 2 more meetings this week, and that's going to be followed up with the online survey, which is already available online. If you go to the city's website, there is a link there to get to the website for the survey, and that survey may be modified some once we finish these public meetings, because there may be more questions that they want to ask. So please keep returning to that webpage and taking a look at what we have, what we're putting out there. Also today, I wanted to introduce Monica Friedel, who is our newest planner, member of our planning division, and she comes to us from California. Moved here to be near family, so we're very happy to have her. She's working really hard. She made some presentations at Planning Commission last week, and she's doing a great job, so we're very happy to have her here. So, and then you may see some new faces also at our building counter, and everything seems to be working out well. People seem to be happy to be here and as new employees of the city, and so stop by and say hello whenever you feel inclined. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I had the opportunity to watch Monica with Mayor actually at the Planning Council give some of those presentations, and I meant to grab you afterwards to say I would have never known that you didn't like public speaking, because you were pretty good. Yeah, we appreciate it. So
Great job.
we're trying to bone up in a lot of areas, and Monica will help us over there in the planning department for sure, as well as that counter staff. Appreciate you and your leadership team over there.
Ms. Karen, could you come forward? IT? can you just give us a little bit of an update on emails that might have came this weekend from me that weren't from me? So just kind of, I don't want to go into too deep, but just kind of remind everybody what
Yep.
to do and how to do it.
Please be very cautious when you look at an email. It might look like it's from the mayor, but if you look at the actual name attached to it, not just Mayor Gene Brown, but the URL that's attached to his email, it shows that it's not from him. There's nothing we can do to stop that. You know, that's out in the wild, and all we can do is educate. And please don't click on it if you'd like to report, if you get them to us, so that we can block them from other people internally. But it's also, you know, people that are out there in the city that might get them too.
So I just wanted to kind of say that, you know, look at the, you know, we obviously say, look at all the, whatever the lines are, and if it's got funky letters or upside down, different things, it's not a correct thing. So we just want to make sure that nobody does anything or sends any money.
And the big takeaway is do not open it. Is that correct?
Do not,
Because
do not click on
that's
the
how
link.
the
do not
malware
open
could
it.
migrate.
Don't forward. How do we let you know? And who do we go to? I took a screenshot of it
That's the best way to do it.
and sent it to Rob.
Yeah, that's fine to do it. If you want to just send us the subject line, we can look it up that way internally. But yeah, that works definitely for us.
And on the weekends, do you have different people on call, or should we just always go to you, or should we always go to Rob?
You can, I mean, whatever he prefers, but yeah, you can send it directly. If you send it to the help desk, we're looking at that all the time.
Yeah.
We can,
If you send it to me, I'd probably just forward a text to these guys
Okay.
and say, take a look at their email.
Yes,
Well,
we can
and
also
any-
tag it as official alert, correct?
that too, yes.
Tag it
Depending,
as
if you're on your phone, it might not work, you know, I don't know
Right.
how you guys will check your mail. Everybody does a little differently.
Official alert. I'll
We'll talk later.
I'll have,
He'll help me.
recommend IT help you.
Yeah. And anybody that knows the mayor knows that he doesn't really send emails.
That's not happening.
Come from any of you, potentially.
I know.
He much prefers to talk to people face to face or on the phone.
True.
All right, thank you, I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Everybody else thinking, are they gonna call me up? And Ross left.
Yeah.
Ran off. All right, anything else, any department heads? All right, well, we'll be adjourned, I appreciate it.